100%. If they don't want to take that meeting, I'm going to show up at Kathy's doorstep and say, Kathy, Brad, let's go. We're meeting. So, whether they want to book and put it in the books or not, that meeting is happening 100%. And actually, it's a good reminder that I should reach out to them right now and get that meeting in the books. So if they're listening, Kathy, Brad, Scott, Kelly, Nancy Penner, and I've met with a few of these individuals. To be clear, I have met with some of these individuals one-on-one. I've met with a lot of municipalities one-on-one and leadership there. Of course, we have to look, and again, to just say that a funding model that was created 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago is going to be relevant today is ridiculous.
Welcome to Municipal Affairs. While we typically focus on local governance issues on this show, we recognize the importance of broader political landscape on municipal affairs. That's why here on Municipal Affairs, we've decided to sit down with federal, provincial, and territorial leaders to delve into their perspectives on municipal governance and how their levels of governments are addressing municipal concerns. Today's guest is Obby Khan, the former Winnipeg Bluebomber turned two-term MLA for Fort Whyte and former Manitoba Minister of Sport, Culture, and Heritage. Mr. Khan is currently running for the leadership of the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba. Now, in our one-on-one interview, we will discuss his leadership ambitions, his visions for Manitoba's future, and perhaps most importantly to you, our audience, his vision for municipalities across the province, both urban and rural. Did you know that Manitoba's municipalities have a voice working tirelessly for them every day? That's the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, your trusted partner in advocacy and action. From local roads to economic development, emergency services to community planning, the AMM ensures municipal priorities are heard loud and clear. They work side by side with local leaders and municipalities, empowering them to tackle the challenges that matter most to their communities. At the AMM, they bring municipalities together, united on the key issues and stronger as a team. Together, they work to make sure your community's concerns don't just get heard, they get action. So whether it's building infrastructure, strengthening local economies, or shaping provincial and federal policy, the AMM is here to make municipal issues matter. The Association of Manitoba Municipalities, advocating for your community, making a difference for all Manitobans. Learn more about how AMM is helping your community at amm.mb.ca. Obby, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about your leadership ambitions and my favorite subject, and that is municipalities across the province of Manitoba. Before we start talking about municipal issues, I want to ask a simple question, but I think you've probably answered this enough times that you can ramble it off. But why did you decide to put your name forward to become the next leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba and potentially the next premier of the province of Manitoba as well?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. Very excited to be here. There's lots of reasons why I put my name forward, but ultimately, I mean, it boils down to a couple of different points, especially that are relative to this podcast here. Number one, I moved here in 2006 to play for the Blue Bombers, and I fell in love with the city and the province right away. And over the time I was here, I slowly felt like the province was losing its way, whether it was for the people, whether it was for business climate, whether it's for growth, economic, safety, healthcare. It was really concerning. And then fast forward to COVID, I said, I got to get involved. I got to have a voice at the table to try to steer the ship, listening, because I've always been a community guy, but listening to people and taking that voice forward, which I feel like government has really lost. So to boil it down, fundamentally, I believe to make a better Manitoba for everyone, not for one specific group over another one, for everyone. And there's so many ways we can do it. We need somebody who's going to think outside the box, going to be innovative, and is okay to ruffle some feathers along the way to change the status quo of way government here in Manitoba has really operated. So really, it's all about service, listening, and making Manitoba better.
Before we talk about some municipal issues, I do want to talk about the big story that's happening across the province and across Canada, particularly right now, and that is what's happening south of the border with Donald Trump potentially imposing a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods going to the United States. What's your stance on this, and how do you believe the new government has handled this up to February 3rd at 11 o'clock when we're recording, or 12 o'clock when we're recording this.
Yeah, so a lot of things are obviously changing hour by hour, minute by minute. So, what I might say might be outdated. But, you know, first of all, I want to say that these tariffs are terrible for Americans and Canadians, for uh, people that are just trying to live and get by and make a decent living and pay their bills, to the businesses that rely on hundreds of millions of dollars of exports. So this is a terrible unilateral, one-sided decision by Donald Trump with no logic on it that really puts Canadians and Manitobans in harm's way. Lots of things are being discussed right now. I know with the Justin Trudeau, and I believe he had a phone call this morning. He's supposed to have another one. Also read recently that Trump has extended Mexico for another month, given them another month of negotiating, I guess. So, listening to the radio on the way here, that maybe that might be extended to Canada as well, with the pushback measures that have already happened. You know, ultimately it comes down to I think a bunch of different factors right now when it comes to Manitoba, and mostly, this is the podcast. I'm talking Manitoba, running for leader in Manitoba. Is we have to be able to, as a province, stand on our own 2 feet economically. When you are being pushed around or bullied by someone, what do you have to stand on? And if we are so reliant on one export, one partner, that they can take full advantage of the situation, it's not a good situation for us to be in. And part of the reason why I got involved in politics in the first place, and my platform now, is to unleash Manitoba. We're hearing language of reducing interprovincial trade barriers. Well, I said that 3 months ago before these tariffs conversations came up. And I know people have talked about them for a long time. I've talked about unleashing Manitoba and making a better business environment for businesses to grow here and people to invest here, so that we have our two legs to stand on and we can push back against the elephant in the room. Until we start doing those things, we are still going to be at the mercy of Donald Trump and the United States. So we have to do those. Yes, Wob Canoe has announced the removing of Kentucky bourbon from shelves. Great. What is that? It's a small pushback on a measure, $90 million, and we're talking hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. That's not enough. We need a stronger pushback. But again, it's hard to push back when you're not even standing on your own 2 feet. I am committed to getting us standing as an economy, as a province, to be the big elephant in the room. And how we're going to do that? Removing red tape and hurdles, making it a business-friendly environment, supporting growth, supporting sectors and ag and mining and energy production, manufacturing. I've toured all over Manitoba, and I'm blown away by the hundreds of millions of dollars we're doing. And every one of them I went to, I said, how do I get you from 30 million to 60 million, from 800 million to 200 million? And they have ideas. They know how to do it. I believe me as the leader of the PC party and hopefully premier one day, will create that environment for them to flourish.
So I'm going to play a little devil's advocate with you for a few seconds because we're less
Oh,
than.
man.
I know we're already starting with the devil advocate questions like 10 minutes into the interview. You were part of the Stephenson government, which you were Minister of Sports, Culture, and Heritage, if I'm not mistaken, if that's the proper term.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you did enough? Because the people of Manitoba voted and they said, okay, we want to try something new. Did the last PC government do enough? And how do you differ from Heather Stephenson, the former premier, to say this isn't Heather's PC government, this is going to be Obby's PC government?
Yeah, I think for sure, and that's a very valid question. I will say that I've been in government or politics for 2.5 years, so I haven't been here for 20 years. I wasn't part of the Pallister government, and the former Premier Stephenson, I was part of that government for a year until the last election. So I wasn't really there for a long time, and when you get in there, you're really drinking from a fire hose. And minister for 6 months. It is a lot to take in at first and a lot to learn. And, over the years I have grown. So to answer your question, did we do enough? Have we done enough? No, definitely not. And that's why I'm committed to making this province better. Getting in there, seeing how things were being done, whether it be bureaucracy or policies and legislation that were made, and now seeing the NDP absolutely do nothing other than cut funding from municipalities and cut programs. It needs to stop. So I'm committed to doing things different. I am not a lifelong politician. I played on the football field. I played in your hometown for a little bit there too. And I went into small business operations, and now I'm into politics, fighting for a better Manitoba. So we can do a lot of things better. I'm committed to doing those things better.
So you mentioned the key word on this show, and that is municipality. So let's turn to the municipal conversation for a bit. Now, I have had the pleasure to sit down with many members across many municipal council members from across the province of Manitoba over the last 2 years, and I hear a swath of issues that are going on. I want to start with a local issue in Portage la Prairie. Earlier this month, the mayor, Sherilyn Knox, has been asking the provincial government to do more on bail reform and start advocating at the federal level on bail reform. They had someone try to steal a snow grader from their workshop, and it was, thank God, found, and the person who was caught had been released on bail 30 times since he had tried to steal this grader. How do you see yourself working with municipalities to address the ongoing revolving door of catch and release of criminals in their municipalities?
Yeah, thanks. That very, very important top of mind question, and I want to thank Mayor Knox for her work on that and calling for a stronger call of action. And sadly, Portage la Prairie also had the tragic passing of the young lady who died in the car accident by, I believe, a drunk driver who had repeat offenses as well. So we're not only talking about stolen goods, we're talking about stolen life. That is a daughter of a mom and dad, community member, family, loved ones, and she lost her life because a drunk driver hit her who had the history of incidences. Absolutely terrible, awful to think about that. And so I further echo 100% and fully support Mayor Knox's call. We have done this as the PC government here in the past, past when we were in government, now in opposition. We are calling on tougher bail reform, get rid of this catch and release policy put in place by the Liberal NDP coalition. We've called on the NDP canoe government here to take a stronger stance on that. Let's not forget our current premier here campaigned on he will fix the justice system in 100 days. Let's not forget that was one of his main campaign slogans. In 100 days, he's got to fix the province. Well, it's been over, I want to say, 400 days, and he has done nothing in his province to tighten that a catch and release policy. Words are cheap. Actions speak much louder than words do, and unfortunately, we've seen a failing NDP government here under Wab Kinew do nothing to support municipalities and mayors like Mayor Knox and the families that have lost family members. The crime in the city and in municipalities is unacceptable. I'm looking forward to change at the federal government, but we need a provincial government that aligns with the federal government that's going to carry those things through. We know the NDP are not going to do that. I hear from I have toured all over this province, and I hear just this week I was in Winkler and Morden, and I heard in both of them. We had town halls, and both of them said the crime is getting out of hand. The drugs, the needles they're finding around community centers. We know about the one in up in Swan River.
Which you're literally going to be on Friday this week in Swan River, according to your schedule.
Yes. 100%, right? Like this is, and so I'm touring everyone. This is a constant theme is coming up over and over again. And, this provincial government has done nothing to support that. And they can make these Band-Aid announcements on, maybe getting in some more conservation officers or trying to support them. But it really comes down to a fundamental policy shift and a mind shift. And my mind aligns with the municipalities and the cry for more stringent catch and release and bail reforms changes done immediately.
So you just mentioned you don't want talk, you want action. What in your past would lead municipalities to believe that a con government, a con leader of the official opposition would potentially give them that action that they're wanting from this current government, but they seem to not be getting?
Yeah, again, very fair question. I would say I am a man of action. When I say something, I get it done. I've won 3 elections in 3 years. I got it done on the football field. I got it done in the small business world. I'm going to get it done now. I don't talk like your average politician does. I talk like a man who's going to get stuff done. I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of my faith. I believe, and I believe that I am working for a better, greater province for everyone. These things I'm hearing over and over again from municipalities completely align with not only myself as a person, but us as a PC Conservative Party. This is what we stand for. Of course, people need help. We have to be empathetic and compassionate to people at where they're at. But if you're, committing three, four, five, six, up to 30 offenses, there's something wrong there. And it's not fair to ask society or municipalities to bear that burden, let alone the family of someone who lost a loved one because you had repeat offenses. So, actions, you're right. It's going to take me some action. I think the actions would say that I have traveled all over Manitoba listening and committing to listening to them because they are the ones that know their area, their community better than anyone sitting here in Broadway. So by no means do I think I have any all the answers. I'm committed to working in partnership with them to find them.
One of the things that I often heard at the last AMM convention in Winnipeg in November was the real urban rural divide that is in Manitoba right now. The NDP have a few seats in the north, and then Winnipeg is relatively all orange, where the PCs, which you are hoping to lead, is mostly all rural. How do you bridge that divide? Because when I speak to rural municipal leaders, the one thing I often hear over and over again is we aren't being heard. What's happening in Winnipeg is being kept in Winnipeg, and we don't hear or they're not listening to us rural RM municipalities.
Yeah, another very valid point I hear all over Manitoba. So to your point, you said that the city of Winnipeg is almost all orange, but two seats, and one of them being mine. So, I am working towards winning Winnipeg back. But you're right. I mean, a lot of municipalities, rural areas are conservative, and then you got the city of Winnipeg. I believe I can win those seats back in the city of Winnipeg to give us a more level playing field here in Winnipeg. I can do that through my connections, through my relationships, through being well known and well liked, and done a lot of work in the city here. That being said, I don't believe in this urban rural divide. It's gone. It'll be gone under my leadership. We cannot have an urban rural divide if we claim to be one province. There's not two different types of people that live in this province. We are all in this together. So what's good for the city of Winnipeg will be good for municipalities and vice versa. And that's not just talk, because if you look at our caucus, 20 out of the 21 or 19 out of the 21 members are rural. So if I don't back this up, those 19 MLAs will be coming for my head. And I say that jokingly, but in reality, in the world of politics and life, when you say something, you got to follow it up. So this urban rural divide, it has to go away. It's going to go away under my leadership because we are all in this together. And I've noticed that more than anything. And that's why I've spent 90% of my campaign has been in rural Manitoba. And you can see from my schedule, I am all over Manitoba, meeting with these communities, rebuilding that relationship. So when it comes to a PC party here, we have to rebuild that trust and relationship with them. I think that's been lost over years. And that starts with grassroots relationships, not just showing up at a fall and spring AGM and saying, hey, look, I'm here. I was looking at a news release from 2023 where, the Premier designate committed to working significantly to listen and relationships and grow and foster growth, and he's done nothing when it comes to those relationships. The difference being 90% of his caucus is from the city of Winnipeg. So where are they spending their time? City of Winnipeg. It's opposite for us. So I'm going to continue to do that while I grow seats in the city.
I'm going to quote my favorite movie here for a second, and we joked about it a bit at the top of the interview before we started recording, but I'm going to quote Wrath of Khan here for a second, and I'm going to quote Spock, the needs of the many outneeds the few or the one. How do you see yourself? Because Manitoba is a very diverse province. You have municipalities like Roblin, you have municipalities like Steinbeck, you have Portage la Prairie, Brandon, Dauphin, you name it, all the way up to Churchill. And they all have their own unique challenges. And what I hear, and this is again what I'm going by from what I'm gathering from my conversations with municipal leaders, is there's a one size fits all type of approach on issues that are going on in Manitoba right now. Do you see yourself working with municipalities to best address the local issues at the local level rather than Winnipeg telling them what to do?
100%. I said this earlier. Municipalities know their area better than anyone here sitting in Broadway. We have to listen to municipalities. We have to hear what each specific municipality. Yeah, there are overarching concerns that everyone in Manitoba would have, right? It would be economy, it would be safety, it would be healthcare, it would be infrastructure. These are universal across the board. But when it comes to specific to municipalities, uh, you know, Inwood, Manitoba that I went to it might be very different than a Winkler, or Dauphin is very different than a Verdun, and they are very different because I've gone to all of these and I'm like, that's different, that's different. That's how would you approach these differently? You can't approach them all with one brush. I have a plan, I have a model, I have a funding model that will increase funding to municipalities to deal with their specific situations that they can then allocate the funds and how they want. Now, this is in the early stages of development, but I have committed to working with municipalities to do that. And that is what we are getting away from. We cannot just, especially this NDP government, saying, here's some blanket funding across the board. Everyone's got to have their piece of the pie, and that's it. No, we need to support them. We need to hear what everyone's having differently, whether it be infrastructure in Arborg, and whether it be crime and safety up in Swan River. Very different. One brush does not fix both of those. How do we fix them? Listen to the elected officials there, listen to the people, listen to the grassroots members, and have a plan accordingly from there. Now, I'll also say, again, we have the seats in these ridings. We need to maintain those seats so we have an MLA who represents them, but also win back seats in the city. That's what I'm committed to doing.
You mentioned funding, and I am pretty sure every AMM board member who is listening to this conversation right now just perked their ears up. And
Good.
during the last provincial election, the Association of Manitoba Municipalities came out with their Let's Grow Manitoba Together campaign, which they talked about key factors that they wanted to see the provincial government and the opposition at the time to address. One of those was that escalator funding for municipalities to tie it with the sort of inflation and the challenges that they're facing. I know you said it's early days to work with municipalities on infrastructure, but are you willing to pledge or talk to the AMM to say, let's understand where this elevator pitch comes in and how the province can help all municipalities? Because you talk about infrastructure, that is their number one challenge right now in municipalities, and that's a common challenge. Do you hope to sit down with the board and have that conversation if you're elected leader?
Well, I mean, not hope. 100%. If they don't want to take that meeting, I'm going to show up at Kathy's doorstep and say, "Kathy, Brad, let's go. We're meeting." So, whether they want to book and put it in the books or not, that meeting is happening 100%. And actually, it's a good reminder that I should reach out to them right now and get that meeting in the books. So if they're listening, Kathy, Brad, Scott, Kelly, Nancy Penner, and I've met with a few of these individuals. To be clear, I have met with some of these individuals one on one. I've met with a lot of municipalities one on one and leadership there. Of course, we have to look, and again, to just say that a funding model that was created 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago is going to be relevant today is ridiculous. This is the type of politics that is not working for Manitobans, not working for anyone. So what do we do? Yes, we have to tie in inflation. We also need to tie in, if we're talking about elevators, let's talk about an elevator for economic growth as well. If a municipality is growing, and this is part of my plan, if a municipality is growing economically, why are they not then increasing the amount of funding the province is giving them? To me, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right?
It certainly
And
is.
if a municipality is growing, I was in Winkler this last weekend. Wow, some of the stuff they are doing there. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars coming out of there, and really, when I talk to them, infrastructure, water waste treatment, where are they getting the funding from? How are they going to do these things? Because again, it's a bottleneck, right? If we don't agree, if we don't support the municipality on where they are today and where they're growing, how can we expect them to continue to grow and increase funding for the province, right? The revenue that is generated from these municipalities. Arborg, I mean, this one blew me away. I went to a manufacturing plant, and the gentleman said to me, "Obby, we could literally double our production if we had better roads." I said, "Well, what's your production now?" He said, "About 40 to 50 million." I said, "You're telling me we can do $100 million if I was to make a road for you?" He said, "Minimum." He said, "Not only me, the guy down the street, the guy after the street, the guy next block over. I mean, these are businesses that are ready to burst." So when I talk about unleashing the potential of Manitoba, the potential of Manitoba will release from all quadrants, and that includes working with municipalities.
I think the mayor of Winkler is going to get a big head here because we keep on talking about his community, and he's probably so
Well, I was
excited that
just
he.
there. I mean, no, no. So I was just there on the weekend. So I just spent 2 days there. So that's why it's fresh in my mind. But if I go back to the Rolodex here, I mean, often the same thing. I mean, that area was booming. I
Oh,
went up there for my
Bozak's
kids'
awesome.
hockey tournament. Right, like it is fantastic what's happening now. Part of the urban rural divide that you talk about is because people in the city don't know how great outside the city is, right? We don't know about the potato manufacturing, about but you hear about egg, but when you actually see these things, it is mind blowing. So that is part of the relationship building, right? You can't have a good relationship if you don't know what the other person is doing.
I
So
agree.
let's get together, let's work together.
So one of the big things that a lot of municipalities, not just in Manitoba, but across Canada are dealing with right now, we talk about infrastructure, but we talk about the housing challenge as well. Housing
Mm-hmm.
seems to be a priority, and you talk about that economic powerhouse that you want Manitoba to be. But unless people have houses to live in, and if they don't have houses, they're not coming. So, how do you see yourself partnering with municipalities to get more housing built? Do you see yourself taking the approach that Doug Ford has taken with his PC government in Ontario, or do you see a Manitoba, made in Manitoba fix to address the housing challenges that the province may be under?
Well, I think you can take approach from multiple different people, right? I don't know if one person has a monopoly or the stamp on this is our man. So we take what Ontario is doing, we take what Pierre Poilievre is proposing. We have to get rid of counterintuitive things like this NDP is doing, right? Like NDP created the apprenticeship ratio, right, of 1 to 1. We know that workers are hard to come by in everywhere, all over Canada, if not the world. And at a time where we need more workers, they reduced the ratio of 1 to 1, one journeyman to one apprenticeship when it was 1 to 2 before. Wow, what's that difference? Well, now you've cut your workforce, your future workforce in half. An NDP quote things like a safety concern. They won't show us any data. They haven't showed any data on this. So they are creating a bottleneck when we are hearing from municipalities that we need to unleash the bottleneck and grow, right? So whether it's a Doug Ford style model of Pierre Poilievre where it's increased funding to municipalities if they're to hit certain targets and get shovels in the ground faster for affordable housing, or if it's getting rid of these ratios that make absolutely no sense and reduce the amount of workforce we have, these are all things we need to look at. So it is an all approach, again, listening to what each municipality is saying. The needs of one area may be different than the needs of another area when it comes to housing and housing units, but the commitment to support municipalities with incentives and funding to create this, to support municipalities with workforce and getting rid of policies that slow down these developments. I mean, it's really counterintuitive or logical to think we need more houses, but we're going to cut the workforce. I don't see how that works hand in hand.
But how do you
So
do
I
that?
would,
I apologize, but how do you do
yeah,
that? Because
yeah,
workers, and I hate to paint a broad stroke, and anyone who's about to send a nasty email, please send it to me because I'm the one who's about to say this. Workers aren't there. People aren't going into the trades as they used to because it's not something that people are being taught that it's a good viable option in high school. Where do you see
yeah.
yourself being able to attract more workers or get the Manitoba kids of today potentially interested in the trades of tomorrow?
Well, I mean, you nailed one of the nails right on the head there. One of them is we have gotten away from that in schools and post secondary education, right? Where again, when I was a kid, I mean, I'm dating myself here, but in the 80s, 90s, growing up was university, 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 and then there was a major shift, in the late 90s, 2000s to go into the trades, and that was like, I'm like, what am I doing spending all this money in university when I could have gone off and been a tradesman and made all this money and had a great life, and now they're in high demand, and then it shifted away again, right? So we need to get back to that because we need to show the different streams of opportunity for young Manitobans, for young Canadians, for newcomers here. And we need to show these are the avenues you can go, and this is how you're going to be supported. So one is we have to get back to the educational system and change that. That doesn't address the needs right now. What addresses the needs right now is those people that are going through the system, the NDP made it harder. We
Yeah.
need to get rid of that. We get rid of the red tape, get rid of the hurdles. That's got to go. Number one. Number two is we need to incentivize them to get into this, right? So if you have someone who's thinking about it or wanting to get into it, what is their incentive to go into the trades and support our economy and grow Manitoba versus per se going to work in Alberta or Ontario or south of the border? I mean, what are we doing as a province, as a municipality to attract people? Now, I've met with lots of individual companies, and companies are doing things. They're paying their relocation, they're getting housing for them, they're helping them with bonuses and incentives to get workers here. But what part of that is that the business's responsibility, or if we're going to the municipality as well? Is there a partnership to be had with the province and municipality to look at that to say, hey, you move to, and I will say this, I think with a 99.9% certainty, maybe 99.8% certainty. In my tours of seeing Manitoba over the last decades I've been here, and especially these last few months, I cannot imagine anyone moving to a municipality and being settled down their roots for 5 years with the community, the love, the support, the connection, the friendships you build after 5 years of living there, getting your family going to ever leave a community. I just can't see that happening because municipalities have so much to offer families. So why not incentivize them, get them to go there, get them to stay there for a few years? They'll fall in love with the place and they'll stay.
I want to turn to my second last segment because I am cautious of time and I know you're a busy person, but I want to talk about something that is on everyone's mind, particularly when they go to the grocery stores, and that is the cost of living. Affordability is a number one concern across Canada right now for people, and they are struggling. How do you, how would you state the current government's approach to addressing the cost of living challenges that people in Manitoba are facing?
I would say, so you want a number rating or do you want just a statement on how they're doing? Because I got to think my words.
However you feel like you want to answer that question. If you want to give it a number, a tangible
Yeah,
number of one
yeah,
being horrible, 10 being great, or if you want to say something, go for it.
yeah. I would say if I had to make a statement, I would say smoke and mirrors. I would say they are playing politics over policies. And what I mean by that is this current NDP government has done really nothing to make real, tangible, long term, permanent, sustainable affordability measures for Manitobans. Nothing. They did a gas stunt hoax, I want to call it. They reduced the gas by 14 cents. And I said, as the finance critic at that time, that every other province that has done this, the price of gas is shown to go back up to above where it was within 3 to 4 weeks. January 1st, they put this gas 14-cent savings, and Manitobans did see those 14-cent savings right off the bat. For sure they did. January 18th, it was back higher, and it never came down after that. So what happened in 18 days? Are we saying that the commodity pricing and the cost of that went up 14 cents, or did that just get eaten up like it did in every other province? So where was the savings and affordability for Manitobans? How did that help the families put more groceries on the table, feed their kids healthy food, pay the bills that they have to pay? It didn't. It was politics. It sounded good, and they sold it, and Manitobans bought it. You look at this hydro rate freeze that they're doing, that they're interfering with the Public Utility Board. The very same Minister of Finance, Minister Sala, and Premier Canoe, who for years accused the PCs of tampering with the Public Utility Board, which we never did, are doing the exact same thing by putting in a hydro rate freeze. Now, hydro's $28 billion in debt. This freeze is talking, I mean, 40 cents of every dollar we pay, Chris, goes to the interest on the debt of hydro. So when we talk about affordable, sustainable savings, how is it affordable, sustainable to continue to put a company further in debt and then pay more interest with the inflation interest rates it is now? It makes no sense. It's politics over policy. If you want to look at policy, the last PC government, the largest savings for the average family home in the history of this province in 2022 was announced. On average, I think it was $3,500 to $5,500 savings by indexing income, by increasing the basic personal tax exemption. By that is affordable savings that's seeing thousands of dollars go to your pocket, your bank to pay. not a $200 gas tax holiday that they claim to have saved, not a $150 hydro rate freeze. What are the long-term sustainable savings for Manitobans? I mean, the premier even went out to threaten local businesses, grocery chain operators, saying if we don't see a drop in prices, you're going to come. We need some. What was it? You're going to have to answer to him. Well, nobody answered to him because the cost of goods did not go down; it's gone up. So, what are his long-term plans? He has none. I do have them, and my number one is to grow our economy. If we grow our economy, we support municipalities by creating jobs and economy, then that will increase our revenue, or increase the amount of money coming into the province, therefore passing on to long-term permanent savings for Manitobans, not politics, policy, policy that works for all Manitobans.
So, what would be priority number one then? If you were fortunate to become the next leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba and then the next premier of Manitoba, what would be priority one? Because you got 2 years until the next provincial election, and we could be in a completely different ball game by then. We could be playing
Yeah.
baseball instead of football. So, what do you see as priority number one if you were to be so lucky by the voters of Manitoba to be elected premier?
Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, when after this leadership race, the number one priority for me in this leadership race is to reconnect with grassroots members, to listen to our municipalities, to have these meetings and understand where their needs or concerns are. Right? I don't know all the answers. I may talk like sometimes I do, but I don't. I have to listen to what municipalities are saying. And actually, as a politician, it might be shocking for some of your listeners, is I'm sitting here saying I need to listen to you. So that's my number one commitment is committing to listening to the grassroots members of the party, but also all Manitobans when it comes to that. That's priority number one. From there, we inform our policy, not politics, our policy to make life better for Manitobans, and then we will campaign on that. The other part is holding Wab Kinew and the NDP to actually answer for what they've done for the last year and a half, which, in my opinion, is nothing other than drive this province to $3.2 billion of deficit. In the first 2 years of governance, we're going to be $3 billion more in debt than we were prior to them. And if you look at your paycheck, if you look at your money you're taking home, if you look at your quality of life, if you look at crime in the city, if you look at homelessness in the city, if you look at healthcare, it's all gotten worse. Well, where's the $3 billion gone? Here, I'll give you a little hint here, Chris. If you didn't read the article last week from the Canadian Taxpayer Federation, they added, I don't know if do you know what I'm going to say? Do you know what article I'm quoting here?
I think I know the number, but I don't want to say it because I feel like I'm going to get it wrong. I think anyway, go
say
ahead.
Say it. No, you got to say it. Listen, if you're asking me questions, you got to say it.
I think it was in the billions, was it not?
No, it wasn't the billions. So it was the billions in deficit they're running.
See. Now this is why I don't answer the questions on this show. I get the other people to answer because I get it wrong. Yes, but anyway, continue.
So they added 1,957 jobs, almost 2,000 jobs to the government services at a cost of $113 million. $113 million and added 2,000 jobs. He's like, okay, well, we had 2,000 jobs, then productivity must be going up. GDP must be going up. We must be performing better. If we have all these jobs, things must be getting done. No, it's gone down. Manitoba has the fastest sinking GDP per capita in the entire country, and this NDP just hired 2,000 people. What could your municipalities have done with $113 million spread out over there? That's what I would ask. So that's when you say politics over policy. I thought we're going to have great policy that's going to benefit municipalities, all Manitobans. We're not just going to hand out jobs to government bureaucracy. We're going to cut it.
I thought you asked me how much they added to the debt, so I apologize for that. So that's why I answered in the billions.
Good save.
That's my save. That's my tight end coming back there for a few seconds.
Amen.
I want to turn to the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba because you are running in this leadership. You are one of two candidates who is about to be selected. Now, members have until, I believe, the middle of February to buy memberships to vote in this upcoming leadership race. The links to buy a membership will be in the show notes. The links to Mr. Khan's website will be in the show notes as well. So check that out. But what are you hearing from Progressive Conservative Party members when you're crisscrossing? Let's talk about the membership for a few seconds. What exactly are you hearing? Are you hearing things that you thought you would hear, or are you hearing surprising things?
A bit of both, for sure. I mean, when you meet with so many people, you're going to hear a whole gambit of things, but there are some constant reoccurring themes that come up. One thing I do want to say is that they have until February 28th at 5 p.m. So I would say February 20th, just to be safe, 25th. You don't want to wait right to the end. And you can go to the website, obbyforleader.ca. I had to give a plug right there. Or you can go
Again,
to the
links in
PC
the show
website as
notes.
well. There you go. Done. You can call me personally if you want as well. I'll help you walk you through the steps and get the membership. But so you have to, and it's important to note that though, because only members can vote for the leader. It's not a general election. It's very member specific. And that's important. So it's 14 years and older. Anyone with a residence in Manitoba, you don't have to be PR or citizen because they want to get as many people involved as possible. Now, the reason why that is we want to attract as many people to the party because and what I'm hearing is a constant theme, and I've been campaigning on all along, is giving you a voice back, getting back to the grassroots members, right? We have a lot of people who feel like, they're disenfranchised from the party. They haven't had this relationship with the party, with the leader, to have that dialogue. So that is a constant theme over and over again. And that's why I'm running a big tent campaign, right? Bring people to the tent. There's a place for everybody in here to have their voices heard. I've come up with things like the Ideas Network of starting up these networks within municipalities, within quadrants of the province, where you can have your voices heard, where I will attend, where I will send our MLAs to attend and listen to quarterly to these things, monthly to these things if we need, bi-weekly if there's a demand. I am committed to listening to our members and forming policy from there. The other thing I'm hearing over and over again really is our economy, affordability. What are we actually doing to make life better? We are not going to be able to tax our way out of this problem like the NDP might want to believe, continue to tax businesses, tax families, tax growing startups. No, we have to grow our way out of this. It is a fundamental difference between the way I want to run this province, the way the NDP are running this province. And even my opponent, I believe government should not be in business. Government should create the environment for businesses to flourish, for municipalities to flourish. How can I support you to flourish? You can do a lot better than we can do that because you know your specifics, right? That's the fundamental difference in how we operate here. Where the NDP and my opponent said we need to be the ones running it. We need to hire 2,000 more people. We know best. We have government. No, we don't. You do. Maybe not you, Chris, but the people that I'm listening to, they do. Or that, so lost voice, growing our economy, and then, crime and safety and health, right? The number one campaign for this NDP was we're going to fix your healthcare. Well, it's been 2 years now, and wait times are worse than they were. So their model of what they're doing is broken. I don't even know if they have a game plan. They just said they're going to do it, and now they're saying miraculously, again, and this is another example of politics over policy. What did they say now in the last couple of weeks? Oh, it's going to take us more than one term to fix this. Oh, we need a lot more time to fix this. But we're going to, no, you said you're going to fix it in the first term, haven't fixed it. You said you're going to get rid of crime in the first 100 days, or you're going to get tougher on crime and you're going to reduce crime in 100 days. You haven't done it. It's a failed justice minister, failed health minister, and it's going to be a failed premier under the NDP if I am honored enough to win the leadership here in the PC. But that's the biggest thing too, is you got to sign up to be a member. And I can get to work on day one because I have a seat in the legislature. I am a sitting MLA. I will stand up across the room and hold Wob Canoe accountable. I mean, one of your earlier questions is what's one of the first things we have to do? And I said, number one, listen to our members, listen to our municipalities. Number two is stand up in the House and hold Wob accountable. I can do that on day one. My opponent, unfortunately, can't. He doesn't have a seat in the legislature. He'll have to go through another election, which could be anywhere from 6 months to 2 years down the road. Until the next election, he might not have a seat. So lots of big differences, lots of big choices.
So I want to just pick up on something you just said there for a second. This leadership election boils down to between two people, and you've mentioned some of the similar differences between you and your opponent on the show already. But you have to reach out to his members who are going to vote for him, and you have to reach out to people who are in the NDP family and say, come to the PCs, come back to the PCs and let
Hmm.
us lead again. Do you think you can do that? Because politics is a family sport. It's not my side versus your side. It's the person who gets the most votes. And in the last election, the numbers don't lie. The PCs did not get enough support. Do you think you can build that coalition of your opponent's supporters, your supporters, potential swing voters between the PCs and the NDP, and potentially even the Liberal supporters to build a coalition to build Manitoba better?
Well, the word when you say coalition, I always think of the NDP Liberal coalition federally, and that's
I
been an absolute
apologize. I
disaster.
apologize.
So
I feel like I'm about to get nasty emails. So I'm going to say the friendship that we get together.
yeah. So what I instead of coalition, I use the analogy of a big tent, right? Because the
Yeah.
big tent is a tent of conservative values, of progressive conservative values, right? And we can talk about the values of faith and family and freedom and the right to choose and free market and less government and bureaucracy, and that's the big tent, right? And I believe in that big tent analogy. You will attract people because it's open on all four sides, right? So come on in. And we can have these values while we work towards a better Manitoba. I mean, other people use the analogy of driving around in the bus. But if you're driving around in a bus, the bus driver says he can pick up who he wants and not who he wants. That's not the way governments work. It's not the way families work. I mean, use the analogy of families, so this parlays perfectly into that. I guarantee you, well, maybe not you. You seem like a nice guy, but other people on the call might have family members they don't get along with. They might have family members that they argue with, but they're still family. We're still a party. We're not going to agree. You're not going to agree on everything I say, and I'm not going to agree on everything you say. But respectfully, we will still shake hands. We will still come together for a better Manitoba. And I've extended that olive branch across the way to my opponent and his supporters, and to people that aren't supporting either one of us, saying, "Hey, there is a better path together when we all come together under a big tent for the common goal of making Manitoba better." Right? We have to remember that that is our common goal together. And knowing that, and knowing that you're going to disagree and agree on certain things, who positions you best for that common goal? Is it myself, who has a seat
Yeah.
in the legislature, who's 44 years old, who likes to go to, you know, for lack of a better word, I mean, I was a football player, so I do like the combat sport of it, right? I do like that competition. But when you believe in something as deep as I do, and a lot of people in Manitoba do, I believe I'm just better situated, the best choice, the only choice for this leadership. The question comes down to members. If members don't sign up and vote, then none. Everything I said right here, doesn't really matter per se because I got to win the leadership.
For those who I just want to remind people that the membership cutoff is the 28th, as Obby said. Just a reminder, because I saw this on your website prior to this recording. If you had a membership in 2024, please check to make sure that is renewed, because some have been canceled as of December 31st, and you need to renew every year. So be sure to check your renewal and get out
Yeah,
and support the candidate of your choice. I'm not saying who you should support, but I'm just saying support the candidate of your choice. But the links in the show notes to Obby's to sign up. So that's a little
yeah,
telling there.
exactly.
Uh, Before I
So
let you go, one last question. It's the important question. What does your vision of Manitoba look like in the future after 2027, if you are so lucky to be the leader and the next premier?
that's a great question to end on. The vision I have for Manitoba is fundamentally a better Manitoba for everyone. It is a Manitoba that is economically flourishing, that is having historic investments brought into the province because we have unleashed the potential of Manitoba by removing hurdles, bureaucracy, red tape, by supporting our growth in this province, by attracting talent to come here and have a great quality life. Because everyone that lives in Manitoba knows how awesome it is. It is a Manitoba that is not afraid to think outside the box and become innovative when it comes to finding solutions for healthcare and public private partnerships. It is one that is not afraid to tap the energy potential and agricultural industry we have here to grow and unleash the amazing potential we have here. It's the reason I was moved here to play for the Blue Bombers. I fell in love with the city and the province as I came down that rickety old escalator in the old airport. And I'm more in love with it today than I was then. So that's the vision I have. And I hope that the listeners can feel that energy, can feel that excitement of this relationship really going forward, and a real sincere commitment to working with municipalities in rural Manitoba. Because without municipalities in rural Manitoba, we don't have anything here. And I think it's a real opportunity for us to flip the page in this province for prosperity for everyone.
Obby, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for sitting down and doing this interview. It's always great to speak to provincial leaders about municipalities, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens over the next few months. We'll probably see each other in Winnipeg at the spring AMM convention, because I know you'll probably be there to talk to the members there. So we'll probably connect there, and I'll actually be able to come up and say hi this time, because now we have met
Yeah,
virtually. So
don't be shy or scared or intimidated. I
oh,
mean, just come
no,
say
okay.
hi. We
Before
can.
we go, I should mention the joke that I said to him is I wanted to introduce myself to Abby in November, but he was swarmed by municipal leaders in the Winnipeg convention.
No,
I was like
no, no.
watching a Blue Bombers fangirl club that was going on there,
Well,
because everyone was
you
just
know, we
excited to
we
see you.
we take a lot of pride in our football. We are blue and gold. And one of your questions off air was, Bombers or Stampeders, and unequivocally, it is. I bleed blue and gold. Red is, nice, and I had a great time there, and I love the stamp. You know what? I still have my cowboy hat and my cowboy boots I bought when I was in Calgary when I played for the Stampeders. So I cherish those memories. But I'm a proud Blue Bomber and a proud Manitoban through and through.
Well, you just lost every Calgary vote that you were going to pick up. So there you go. Avi, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Municipal Affairs. Now, we just want to remind you that we do have links in the show notes to Mr. Khan's website and to purchase a membership in the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba. So if you want, scroll down and check those out. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights from one of Manitoba's leading political leaders. To stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite platforms and follow us on social media. For even more content and learn more about the stories and people that we feature on the show, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Your support means the world to us, so share this episode with your friends, your family members, or even your community, and help keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you here on Municipal Affairs. Till then, everyone.